Welcome to everybody at home to Portsmouth this morning, the historic city, which of course every day remembers D-Day. As soon as you arrive in the city, you see all the signs to the D-Day Museum. It is etched into their history, but today it is the focus of the national commemorations. You can see the stage is set behind me for the 80th commemorations, and military bands expected to perform, and we're expecting 2 World War II Dakota aircrafts to fly past, as well as the Red Arrows putting in a display for us. We're also expecting His Royal Highness, His Majesty the King and the Queen to be here a little bit later on this morning, as well as the Prince of Wales, and fresh from their TV debate last night, which was a little bit touchy. I'm sure Eamon will tell you more about that a little bit later on. We will be seeing the Prime Minister and Sir Keir Starmer here as well. But actually, of course, at the heart of all of this is the veterans, 80 years on, so many of them in their late teens and early 20s, when they had to risk their lives, and many of them paying the ultimate price. Some of those survivors will still be here today. Those who tragically fell will, of course, be remembered. But we are on South Sea Common. The sun has risen. It's a beautiful morning here in Portsmouth. We're right next to the Naval Memorial. It couldn't be a more fitting place to remember what happened, because actually the 5th of June was supposed to be D-Day, and the Allied Command Centre that was set up here in Southwark House in the north of the city is where General Eisenhower took that decision. The weather was not quite right. It was not optimal for what was to prove to be the biggest seaborne invasion in history. He delayed it just 24 hours, and we know that it went on to be a huge success. But on day one, 80,000 British troops crossed the Channel, 155,000 Allied troops in total, 11,000 aircraft and 6,900 naval vessels. It was unbelievable. And of course, we've got people for us today throughout the day across the sea in northern France. But here in Portsmouth, we'll be focusing on all of the important factors, the fact that liberty was saved and that we have so much to be grateful for. And of course, the royals playing a key part in that. So who better to speak to this morning than Cameron Walker, who joins me here. Good morning, Cameron.
Good morning, Isabel.
We've been researching a little bit about exactly what the royals themselves did, because they were very involved in the war effort back in 1939 to 1945. Tell us about their own personal role in helping D-Day be a successful mission.
Yeah, and we have to remember, of course, it was King Charles's grandfather, George VI, who was the monarch during World War II, and he, the late Queen, when she was Princess Elizabeth, and indeed the Queen Mother as well, were all involved in this art of deception, trying to distract the Nazis away from the Normandy beaches, where, of course, the Allied invasion took place, to try and trick them into thinking the invasion was going to happen somewhere else. So the King, for example, went to the southeast of England to greet troops, trying to trick the Nazis into thinking the invasion was going to happen in Calais. He was also sent up to the Orkney Islands, again a deception tactic to try and convince the Nazis that they were going to invade Scandinavia instead. So the royal family were very much at the heart of D-Day, but as well as the troops as well.
Well, Hitler fell for it, didn't he? He ended up diverting a huge number of his troops up into Scandinavia as a result of the Orkney deception. So we'll be remembering their role. And of course, His Majesty the King was just 4 when he lost his own grandfather, so he won't have been able to have heard those testimonies firsthand, really. But his mother, the Queen, the late Queen Elizabeth II, also very involved, and they've been remembering over the years all of these commemorative events. And tell us a little bit about what they've been doing for this special one.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned, of course, the King was so young when he lost his grandfather, but what the King does have is his grandfather's diaries, particularly of D-Day, and it's been revealed this morning, and we're going to hear more about this as the day goes on. The King has read an extract from King George VI's diary on D-Day. So he said, this is the extract from George VI's diary: "The news was given out at 8 a.m. that the invasion of the continent of Europe had started last night. The airborne troops had made successful landings in the night and had captured their objectives." So that was something, and of course D-Day ultimately tips the course of the Second World War in the Allies' favour. The King and the Queen have also met 4 D-Day veterans in Buckingham Palace. We're going to see a full video of that later. Arthur Urborne, who's 100, John Dennett, 99, Bernard Morgan, 100, and Jim Miller as well. He has also just turned 100 last week. He received a birthday card from His Majesty the King. So it's very poignant, I think, and the King was shown artefacts from these D-Day veterans, including a pair of lucky football boots, which one of them carried on his backpack, over to France and stormed the beaches of France. One with the dog collar, which still has blood on it from when he was shot, survived. He was shot in the lung. His friend saved him. Unfortunately, his friend Walter, this is Arthur, his friend Walter died the following day in Normandy during that Allied invasion.
Goodness me. And of course we know that the royals have a close affinity with the military anyway, so they will be much supporting all of the events here today. They'll be travelling to Normandy this afternoon and tomorrow, and we know that Princess Anne, of course, always so busy with royal engagement. Yeah. She's got a full diary as well, hasn't she?
She certainly does. Shout out to Princess Anne here. She has a number of engagements today as well as tomorrow. So she is, of course, Colonel-in-Chief of the Royal Regina Rifles. She is going to be unveiling a statue of the World War II Canadian Royal Rifleman in Normandy this morning, accompanied by her husband, Vice Admiral Tim Lawrence. She's then going to be going to the Bayeux War Cemetery, joining Normandy veterans there. She's also going to be, as part of her new role as President of the Commonwealth War Graves Commission, taken over from the Duke of Kent last year, going to be attending a service there, as well as a vigil tonight, again in Bayeux.
Fantastic. Well, Cameron, thanks very much indeed. We'll be with you all morning, and I look forward to hearing much more from you a little bit later on.